when you have a kid, the way you are going to think is going to change dramatically.
And that kid's not going to respect you for staying with the cheating woman.
I'm saying you just wanted to argue with me and I'm saying.
Oh, hold up now. Easy now, Slick. Hold up. I didn't bring in the argument here.
It's not that easy, especially when you have a kid, right? It's not that simple. I wish it was, Scotty.
You cannot expect that woman to have any sort of respect for you as a man if you allow that to happen. You're not doing yourself or the kid any favors by allowing that kind of behavior to go on in the same household. More power to you to be able to forgive. Me, I am a very, very unforgiving son of a bitch. And if you asked me to stand at your wedding for the same woman, I'd stand by your side. But at the end of the day, she is no good for you, and she does not deserve my buddy.
And you'd be vocal about it, correct?
Very vocal. Welcome back to UnWoKeN, telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you motherfuckers who don't want to listen. Back today with Mr. Alex Mejia. Carter's wearing a godforsaken jersey behind the screen right now.
This is cool. I got like tiger stripes on it. I don't know if you can see them. I don't know where this jersey came from. It's just one of those things that just popped in my house.
Is that one of those Walmart brand jerseys?
Probably.
Oh.
It's thick. This thing's thick. So I don't know. If someone left this at my house, it's yours.
It's thick like Alabama's trophy case.
Very true.
Alex.
Scotty.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Good, man. We just spent 2 hours in the car.
Yeah, that was a long ride.
That was a long drive.
Y'all should just start bringing the audio equipment into the car and just record your podcast in there.
We tried to do that. We tried.
Yeah, he needs to get one of those like clips because like where we drive is like it's like if his car shakes even a little bit, the whole thing just like falls.
Collapses. Today we're going to talk about something that everybody loves to hear, especially me and Carter's last podcast, is the relationships, dating in this modern era. We talked about Fresh and Fit one time, but they do kind of bring on the, I don't want to say undesirables, because a lot of the women they bring on are desirable. One of their key points they bring up is if your body count's 30 to 40 guys, and they're trying to pick a guy who's going to be okay with that, they're going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, biology. I mean, it stems back. I mean, I hate to sit here and talk about facts, but I mean, let's just say just in general, you know, most men typically find that concerning because normally it tells you a lot about someone's character. It's like, okay, well, one, I know this person cannot commit because why have you been with 30 to 40 people, you know? And it's like, let's remove the whole like sexual aspect to it. Let's just say that you've dated 30 or 40 people. It's like, personally, I wouldn't want to. If I knew that right there, that would be a red flag. Just like if, you know, a woman were asking a guy, like, you know, what do you do for work? And he says, oh, I don't do anything. I stay at home with my mom. It's like, well, that's a red flag. Does it mean that that guy's not a great guy? Does it mean that they can't potentially have a great relationship? No, it doesn't mean any of that. It just means that, well, if I'm going to take a chance with having a successful relationship, I'm starting off on the wrong foot. You know, so it's like if I know that somebody has been with 30 or 40 people, it's like, well, I know that this person probably has commitment issues or there's probably some underlying, you know, issue or something like that as to why they wouldn't commit to just a single individual, you know, or maybe they have some kind of reason that they find is completely acceptable for why they would date that many people. Either way, to each their own. It's whatever they choose to do. But I know that if I'm looking for a committed relationship, normally that's a red flag. So I think that it would just go both ways. You know, it's like woman or a man. It's like if I'm a woman and I'm seeking commitment, then the idea is that if I know that there's a guy out there that's, you know, he's just, you know, hanging out with all these women, well, that's a red flag because I know that, you know, he's not committed to any of them. You know, so I think that that's what most people, men particularly, would have an issue with when finding out that someone's had, you know, an excessive amount of previous partners.
I want your honest opinion on this. What kind of role do you think OnlyFans plays in today's line of dating?
I would say that it does complicate things significantly.
And how so?
Because one, I guess, well, it's hard to be in general whenever talking about something specific like dating. It's like if I were to meet someone and they had an OnlyFans, whether it be man, woman, doesn't matter, it does bring a lot of complexity into the relationship that most people would argue is not necessarily, well, yeah, it's just not necessary. It's like whenever you're dating someone and let's say they're an honest person, which is a great green flag, right? If someone's being honest with you up front, that's a huge green flag, right? But let's say that some people are bringing that issue up front, like, oh, hey, here's my situation, here's my life story and this and that, like, what do you think? Like, do you feel as though we can see a future together? Well, I mean, obviously I would consider that seriously, because obviously if they're going to be honest with me up front, then that's kind of something that I would take into consideration, because it's like, well, regardless of circumstance, you're still a decent person. But if they're being honest about the fact that they're like, I have an OnlyFans and I'm doing content with other people, like, but I am seeking a serious relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
That's admirable.
Yeah, because they're being honest. They have, obviously, if someone's doing something like that, they're not ashamed of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. It's just they're seeking a committed partner, and they understand the complications that brings, and the same goes for, like, I don't know if, you were taking care of a family member. It's like, well, hey, I just want you to know up front that, I live with my mom, but it's not exactly meaning that that she's taking care of me. If anything, I'm taking care of her. You would want to be upfront about that kind of thing upfront, because the other person would know, like, oh, hey, that does bring complexity into the relationship that I don't know if whether or not I would be willing to take that risk upon myself. And I think that that's what most people have the issue with as far as committing to someone. It's like, do I want to, is it okay for me to look at somebody? It's like, what, I mean, obviously that's a little too broad, but if I was a single guy, would it be okay for me to look at other women? It's like, yes, I'm a single guy. I'm seeking my options, right? But if I'm looking for a committed relationship, well, then I'm going to have to consider more factors other than just looks. It's like, looks is what got my attention, but your character is what's going to keep me along for the ride. So it's like, if you're pretty but you're crazy, or, anything along those lines, then obviously it's like, well, I don't see us being in committed long term. You may be fun in the moment, but I don't see this going anywhere past that. So I think that that's what a lot of people are considering whenever you consider stuff like social media accounts, OnlyFans, just anything of that nature where it just brings unnecessary. I keep saying the word unnecessary, but that's the best way I can put it, is just some form of complexity that most people don't necessarily have if you're having like a normal average, I hate to say average, but yeah, just average relationship. It's like an average relationship, two people committed to each other, whatever the case may be, different careers, whatever the case was. But if I know that, or if people who have an OnlyFans, it's like, it would be a little weird for you to not understand that it is bringing complexity into the situation. It's like, first of all, this is something that's relatively new. So we don't fully understand the impact of what it can make long term. So it's hard to make any kind of statistical analysis based on that. I'm not sitting here saying that they haven't done that, but the idea is that they can't figure the long-term effects because it hasn't been around for that long, but at the same time, most people kind of upfront just recognize the complexity that it brings to the relationship. And most people would say that that's not necessarily something they would want to subscribe to.
Oh, exactly. At the end of the day, you are an amateur porn star.
Yeah.
That's basically what OnlyFans is.
Yeah, I just think that just now,
depending on your content.
Yeah, I just think nowadays that dating in general is difficult for most people. Most people don't really understand exactly what they're looking for, regardless if it's just something as complex as OnlyFans. It's like there's a bunch of reasons. Like, for example, you're 27. You're stating that you're not exactly dating or looking to be romantically interested.
Committed. Committed, long, like...
Yeah, why is that?
Personally, right now, I think I have to get my own life in order. Mm-hmm. I just started a new job.
Yeah, with me?
Yeah, with you. Just started working on this with Carter.
Yeah.
And right now, I want to be able to focus all of my attention on this and my new job. Mm-hmm. That's where all my attention wants to be. That's where it wants to be. Yeah. And I know that I could not give anybody the attention that a relationship needs, because a relationship takes work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work to make a relationship last. You know more than anybody, you just got married.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
You slick son of a gun. But it takes a lot of work to make a relationship work, and I know that I do not have the time to put forth that effort into a relationship right now.
Yeah. So it's just you've just made a conscious decision that you're like, I'm not going to date anyone because your life is not in the place that you want it to be in.
Not yet.
Okay. And what place do you want your life to be in before you start considering a relationship?
I want my yacht.
I mean, I get it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was kind of at some point. I was like that whenever I was younger. I wanted to, I wanted to have more for my life. I wanted to do more and stuff like that because I understand that, just like you said, being in a relationship, it takes, there's a responsibility involved in it, which is your responsibility to the other person, and any other things that need to be communicated and established in any given relationship. But at the same time, the way that I see relationships is I never really saw it as something that, I want to avoid. There was one point that I wanted to avoid relationships, but for the most part, it was just kind of like a come and go type situation. Like I'm not necessarily looking for someone, but if someone were to come along, that's a completely different story, and it's like, I think if we bottle it down into like, 3 categories, let's say it like that. The first category would be talking whenever it comes to dating. There's talking to someone, there's dating someone, and then there's taking someone seriously or in a committed relationship, right? So the first one is like talking to someone. It's like, is it necessarily bad to talk to multiple people? No, because in that point, you have not established any ground rules with any particular individual. It's like if somebody gets the misunderstanding that, I thought you were only talking to me. It's like, well, that would be if we were dating. Dating is that, okay, I have now, sorted through my options and you are the one that I want to pursue. Whether or not that leads into a committed relationship is different, but at least we can establish we are in a relationship, that we're going to be, keeping it exclusive for the time being. Right. And then if I see that you are someone that I'm willing to commit to, then that's whenever we would get into a committed relationship. How long you want to drag that out is up to the individual. But I think that's mostly the 3 stages. Everybody wants to add stages just to kind of add complexity to the situation. If someone's doing something like that, in my opinion, it's like they're just playing games, because any person that's willing to take someone seriously, they don't play games. They're just like, here's what I'm in for. Are you down to ride? And that's all there is to
Honesty.
it. So what happens is that the reason why someone doesn't want to establish that up front is because they know that they run the risk of losing that person.
Exactly.
And that's why most people aren't honest up front, because they know that it's like, if I were honest with this girl, she might leave. And it's like, that's why most people want to string people along, because they want to keep them as an option.
That's why people don't break up with others too, because they have that thought in their mind that I will never be able to do better than this. And they are more willing to sit there and suffer in a relationship than they are to end the bad relationship and try to move forward and move on and find somebody who's more compatible for them. Nobody should settle for less. I'm saying if you have a set list of values and principles that you yourself follow, you have to embody what you're looking for. You can't sit here and say, I want this, 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 and this from somebody whenever you yourself don't embody those same qualities. Mm-hmm. You have to embody those same qualities that you look for in somebody. And if you don't embody one of the qualities you're looking for, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, what can I do differently? But if you don't do that, you don't deserve that kind of person that you're looking for.
I mean, are you talking about what men need to do in order to establish themselves?
I'm talking about anybody. I'm talking
just
about
in general?
In general, the qualities you look for in somebody, you have to ask yourself, do you embody them yourself?
You physically can't do that, Scotty, because I want my wife to
physically
be able to give birth.
I'm talking about in
want
terms
her to
of
have
goals.
A big bazongas and
in terms of goals,
and some thick thighs. I want my girl to be thick. You know what I'm saying?
I'm talking about goals.
And I want to be muscular. I don't necessarily want a woman that's as muscular as I am. I'm just saying, Scotty,
we're not talking about physicality though.
Would I embody or not? Oh, you're talking about ideals.
Well,
That's different.
But we were just leaving out physicality.
Okay. You didn't tell me that.
No, you did. You said it. You said it yourself about the physicality, and let's talk about the intellectualness of somebody. You said that. I didn't say it.
Fair enough. Whatever.
Is intellectualness a word?
No,
This is the high value man speaking.
That's what an intellectual does. It makes up words.
That's what high value men do. They make up words. That's where their value comes from.
That's right. No, that's not where the value comes from.
Once you actually meet the right woman, you're gonna realize that all that stuff you literally just said is gonna go right out the window. Because first of all, I can establish the fact that most men, I'm not saying all men or whatever, just in general, right? Let's speak generally. Most men would want a woman that's submissive, but they're not gonna be submissive. They want to be the leader. They want to be a high value man. So that's the first thing that goes right out the window.
Bullshit.
You can't do it.
Bullshit.
You can't do it. So that's what I'm saying. If you actually met the right woman, a lot of the stuff you believe in would go right out the window.
No.
And it would actually add some stuff, and it would make you a more well-rounded character.
No, I don't think that's true.
What do you mean?
I don't think that's true.
What's not true?
If you meet the right person, you're gonna throw everything out the playbook.
I didn't say everything. I said most of it. It's going to go out the window.
No, and it shouldn't though. That's what I'm trying to say. It shouldn't go out the window.
No, it will go out the window. It's not a matter of it should or shouldn't.
What's an example of something that went out the window?
For me?
Yeah.
That I had to be the provider.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife makes more money than I do, and she's phenomenal. She's everything that I could have possibly asked for. The only thing that I knew that I actually wanted was just a thick woman. I just love me just some meat. I just want to grab it. But whenever I met her, it's like I told myself, no, actually the first thing I knew before I started dating her, I was like, I could never do a long distance relationship. I told myself that before I started dating her. And then I started dating her, and that was the first thing that we did. We started a long-term relationship, and it worked out because I had this belief that long-term relationships can't work.
Long distance?
Or they won't work. She was 3 hours away.
Not long term, long distance though.
Yeah, what did I say?
Long term.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But
long
that worked
distance,
for you. That worked for you.
But
it's not
you
the same for
asked,
everybody else.
You asked what are some beliefs that I had that I threw out the window the moment I met the right woman.
Right.
That was the first one that went out the window.
Was that one of your key components? Was that one of your key principles?
I thought it was at the time before I met her. I thought that
you thought so. You didn't establish a set list of values that you were looking for. Besides,
I mean, yeah, that was a list of values. Whatever you're trying to get at, Scotty. What I'm saying is
what would be your top 5? If you could say your top 5 qualities. Well, you're married. You can't
thick,
answer. All right.
Thick, gorgeous, wonderful, sexy, intelligent, wonderful, amazing.
Wonderful twice.
Everything. Oh, sorry. I'm just listing my wife. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're married. You see.
But it's like there was no like specific. Like I didn't limit myself as to who I was gonna date and who I wasn't. I wasn't picky. I mean, I would say as a person, it's kind of hard to be picky. But the idea is that like what I did was that like whenever I first started dating, I'm just like okay, it wasn't any particular thing. It was just like, okay, well, am I attracted to this person? Okay, fine. Let's give them a chance. Then we'd start talking and then, see where one thing goes and stuff like that. And then things would work, things wouldn't work. And they just kind of went all over the place. But there was no like, she has to check all of these boxes before I date her. And I'm
five qualities.
I didn't do that. But if you wanted me to give an example, that was the first thing that went right out the window. I thought seriously that I could never be in a long-term relationship. I legitimately thought that. I was like, maybe we can see each other. And actually, now that I think about it, there was a girl that I was with, or I would say but I was talking to because it couldn't really be an actual relationship because it was a long distance relationship. And it was from that stemmed the belief that long distance relationships don't work. And then I got with my wife and she moved 3.5 hours away and it worked out for me perfectly, and was it worth it? I would say 110%. So that's where I'm coming from when I say when you meet the right woman, all of this mumbo jumbo that you're like criteria and all this other stuff, it's going to go right out the window. And it has nothing to do with your values. What you value or what you're going to value is going to change over time, regardless if you want it to or not. Because the moment you get married, that woman is going to be your life. But the moment you have kids, it's going to change again. Does that mean that your wife is less important? No, it just means that your values are going to change. And they have to. I wouldn't say have to, but what they're going if you're living your life in what you would agree to be appropriately.
But if you meet the right one, that means that you have the same values.
Yeah, but your values are going to change. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to go out the window. What you thought was the best way to conduct yourself, you're going to realize isn't always the truth. And it takes that right person to show you exactly what that means. And it's like, and until you meet that person, you're not going to understand what I mean. Because the idea is that, like, before I dated, I thought I was this individual. This is who I have to be. This is who I am. You know, I had this sense of identity that was just, you know, just this is what I am. But then I met her and all of it changed. Every single
that's the
down to the
difference.
last detail. Does it mean that I'm not a high value man?
No, hey, you're the one who brought that question up in the car. You're the one who brought that question up in the car.
I'm sorry. I just have to
No,
make
but
it
what I'm
funny.
saying is I'm not willing to sacrifice my values.
And that's fine. And then what's going to happen more than likely is you're going to limit the amount, or not amount.
Good.
But
I do
limit
not
the
want-
people that
Yeah.
you can take seriously. But then guess
Good.
what's going to happen? The
Good.
moment you meet the right one, it's going right out the window.
No, because the people that
Yeah.
I'm going to take seriously have the same values as me.
Yeah.
You're sitting here saying that I'm going to have different qualities and different values that change,
Yeah.
but you have your own definition of what your values are due to being wonderful.
Yeah.
That ties into what your values are in somebody.
Like you said, everybody has different perspectives as to what, you know, what a relationship is and what's not, you know, and all this other stuff. There's a lot of components that come into play, but I do think that the biggest thing is really just honesty. And I think that some people can take, you know, it's like that I would think is, in my opinion, the only thing that's actually like, which it's even hard for me even me to say that, like, in, you know, what's really important is honesty, you know. And I think it really just kind of goes down to, well, at least don't lie.
So speaking of honesty, what do you think about people who get back with somebody who has cheated on them?
Oh, snap. Oh, man. You've just opened up a can of worms. Okay. So I'm not going to say any names or give too many specifics, because I actually know someone that was in that situation, and I can even tell you how long ago it happened or anything like that. Now, I would like to start with saying, like, this dude is going to be one of my great friends. I'm going to be friends with this dude probably, as far as I'm concerned, as long as he's allowing me to. So, powers in your hands. You know who you are. But as far as I'm concerned, I think he's a great guy. I really do. I think he's a wonderful dude. But he was in a situation where basically what had happened was him and his girl got into a little dispute. And she was like, oh, you know, I don't want to be with you anymore, or whatever. And then she started talking to another guy, right? Or she told him that they wanted to go on a break. And it was like, okay, you can go on, you know, like they both agreed, you know, maybe that's what they need. Another thing I need to establish is that they have a kid, right? So they agreed that they were going to take a break, right? Well, while she was on a break, or while they were on a break, you know, she had met a dude.
They were established to be on a break, though.
Yes, established to
What
be
is
on
this,
a break.
Friends? Is this the plot of Friends?
No.
How much love is better?
So what had happened was that while they were on the break, she got with a guy or started dating another dude, and then he went and met another girl, right? Well, then the girl didn't like that, so she's like, let's get back together. And then they got back together, and they were like, you know, let's be exclusive, whatever, right? But then she started saying stuff like, well, I need to go be with this other person because they make me happy. You don't make me happy, or whatever. But they're still apparently in a relationship. Don't judge them. Don't judge them, right? It's like they have a kid. That brings a lot of complexity to the situation that most people don't think about, right? It's not as simple as just saying, I can't be with this woman, especially if the child is yours, right? If you've ever even known a man who has had a child with a woman, it's like, it does not matter how crazy that woman is, that man will go through hell and back just to make sure that that child is taken care of, and that he's in their life. And I would say, like, it just adds a lot of complexity to the situation. Let's just keep it at that.
Agreed.
Right. So it's like I know that a lot of people are probably hearing this, and it's just like, oh, that's ridiculous, that's insane. It's like, you will do a lot to make sure that you stay in your kid's life, right? And any any decent father will tell you, oh, they would probably go to hell and back to make sure that they stay with the child, right?
And at the very least, just create an amicable relationship between the mom and dad for the sake of the kid.
Yeah, and I think that that's what he was trying to establish. He wanted to make her happy. He wanted to try to keep her around. He wanted to stay in the kid's life, right? It's just she was all over the place, right? And she kept going back to that other dude, and he's just like, okay, you could be with him, just y'all just can't come back to the house, or like making different rules and stuff.
Question.
Up?
Were they in an established relationship at the time?
Yes.
Okay. Let me go ahead and just be the person who.
Or it was weird.
Let me go ahead and be the person who says this. If you're in an established relationship, and you're a man, and you're allowing your woman to go fuck around with another guy or another girl, whatever the fuck they're into.
Well, she wasn't
I
doing
don't care.
anything.
You're not doing any
with
favors for.
other guy.
You're not doing any favors for that kid.
And at the same time, oh, that's not his fault. That's hers.
But
She made that choice.
He's staying with her.
Okay, but like I said, he has a kid.
But he's staying with her.
Okay,
knowing that she is.
So
being
does it make
promiscuous.
him a bad man to bail on a kid, or does it make him a bad man because he doesn't allow his woman to cheat?
He's not bailing on the kid if he says. How would he bail on the kid in that aspect?
Because if the moment that he's like, okay, I don't want you being with another man, and she goes and bees with another man, and then he decides that he's like, yeah, I don't want to be with you ever again, it's like she's going to take that child and run. And every single man that's ever dealt with a woman in that situation knows that that's the first thing that they're going to do, to use the kid against you.
Go to court.
Okay, but it's not that easy. And it's like I said,
I'd say find documentation.
Let's just leave it at it adds complexity to the situation before you have a bunch of your viewers leave. All right, it adds complexity to the situation that is it's a lot. Let's leave it at that. Right? When you have a kid, the way you are going to think is going to change dramatically.
And that kid's not going to respect you for staying with the cheating woman.
We're going to leave that off the table, right? It adds complexity to the problem. It's not as simple as just being like, if my woman decides to go and flirt with another guy, I'm not going to be with her, right? It's not that easy, especially when you have a kid, right? It's not that simple. I wish it was, Scotty. If it were just me and, some girl or whatever, and we had no kids, whatever, she wants to go talk to another guy, by all means, you can establish that rule. That's fine, because it is not that complex. They can make it complex and try to make it seem like this and that and blah, blah, blah. But as far as I'm concerned, the moment you have a kid, it adds complexity to the situation that we're just not gonna deal with, right?
I'll let you finish.
Yeah. So she started going and, talk. She was still talking to this other guy. As far as he was concerned, they hadn't did anything, and everything was fine. She'd come home, they kind of go back and forth, co-parent, whatever the case may be, right? But he's still doing everything in his power to bring her back to his side, because in his mind, he's like, I really do care about her. I really want her in my life. I want to do all this, blah, 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 right? Well, she, what had happened? He kind of, at a certain point, they broke up again, because he was just like, yeah, this is not worth the headache, blah, blah, blah.
I told you that was going to happen.
Yeah. And then at another point, she came back to him and was like, oh, hey, I want to take this seriously. I want to be exclusive and all this other stuff. And he was like, okay, if we're going to be exclusive, then we're tying out all the other people, right? Like, it'll be just us. We'll work on this and that'll be fine. Right. And she kept saying stuff like, oh, I need to do this. I need to spend time away from you because I need to, take care of myself. Everybody knows that's BS. Anytime a girl is saying stuff like, I need time away from you to work on myself, it's all BS. All right. Let's just be honest here. Right. Any woman that's watching this, it's just like, y'all know exactly the excuse you're giving. Y'all know exactly what you mean when you say that. You may tell that to that person, and you may genuinely mean that, but in actuality, what's going to take place is something completely different, right? And it's majority of the time, because that's what you're going to hear a lot whenever you're in a, I'm not going to get into that, but once you start hearing it enough, you realize that we know what's going on here, right? We're not about to sit here and, ruffle the feathers too much. We know what's happening whenever you say stuff like, we need to take a break or whatever. I need to work on myself. We know what you're saying when we hear stuff like that, right? And it's up to the person in the situation or whatever to do what they want with that. But anyways, that's what she was saying is why she was doing all that. But then they made it exclusive again. They were like, all right, yeah, we're going to take this seriously. And then he found something that indicated to him that it was no longer exclusive on her end, you know? So at that point, he's like, regardless of what happened, she's lying to me. And he knew that, right? And it genuinely hurt. I can feel the pain in his voice whenever he's telling me this, you know? And it's like, I'm like, teach his own, you know, everybody kind of handles things in a different way, you know? But the one thing that he said to me that I was like, that I did not agree with whatsoever. Like, I actually got a little upset whenever he said this. He was just like, I worked on myself and I made myself a better man, and it was all for nothing. And I literally put my foot down and I was like, BS, bro. Like, you are never going to find a place in which improving yourself is a negative thing. I'm like, I think that, and he, you know, for knowing him for so long, it's like, I know the ways that he was improving himself. And I was like, look, man, you're a guy that's learning how to cook, who's learning how to, you know, take care of a kid, who's trying to take care of the house, who's, you know, has a good job, you know, is completely committed, you know, like, I'm like, and you're constantly improving yourself. You're not trying to be as aggressive. You're trying to like work on his flaws. It's like, first of all, you're a man that can self-reflect. You're a man that can commit, right? And you're someone who cares deeply, right? I don't think that there's a woman out there that would argue with that's a bad thing, right? Because it's like, I did not want him to revert back to who he used to be, which is someone who was a lot more aggressive, who wasn't committed, and all this other stuff. It's like there's no reason for that. It's like, it is a net positive in the world that someone like you exists, and that all the improvements that you made may have been for naught for that relationship. But when you meet the next one is going to appreciate all of those values, because that's exactly what I did with my first relationship. Once the relationship ended, I looked back on it and I was like, where did I go wrong? You know, there was a lot of stuff that I can attribute to the other party, but I was like, but that doesn't help me. It's like, but what does help me is knowing where I went wrong and knowing where I can improve. You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, well, the next person that I come along, it's like, well, am I still that same person? Am I not? Okay, well, when I was with that next person, all those tendencies came back up. Okay, so we need to focus a little bit harder on that, making sure that doesn't happen, and this and that, you know. And then I met my wife, and then I was just like, okay, so I know what kind of person I can be, and I'm very aware of it. And I know, and the problem is I know exactly where it ends, right? And she is the most amazing person I've ever met in my entire life, except for family, you know. But the idea is that, you know, she came along, and she basically, she was absolutely amazing. I'm sorry. What was I talking about? I started thinking about her and I lost track.
So it was a cheating thing.
But yeah, so she had, whenever I was with her, I realized, I was like, you know, I can be an absolute monster, and I know that. I know that I can be an absolute POS, and in the worst kind of way. And I'm like, but she's absolutely wonderful, and she does not deserve that. And I'm like, she is everything that I want, you know, in this world. And I know that if I decide to take that route again, I know where it ends, and I don't want to do that again. And so because I was able to self-reflect and look at myself and take into account and improve myself, it's like, well, now I get to be the man that my wife loves today, you know. And it's like, so I guess whenever he said that to me, I took it personally. I'm like, you know, no, dude, there's no way that if you genuinely are actually and honestly are improving your life, it's like, it may feel like it was a waste for that relationship, which it is, unfortunately, because at that point the relationship is gone and you have nothing to show for it except the skills that you develop to improve yourself to be better for the next person. It's like, the moment you meet that right person, all of those skills are going to be important to them, you know, and they're going to appreciate it. It's like, when you meet the right person, they're going to appreciate all those qualities of you. So to answer your question, will I be friends, or would I still take someone seriously, or, you know, consider them, you know, a good friend of mine or whatever, if I know that they've had someone that cheated on them? And
that wasn't my question.
What was the question?
Would you ever get back with somebody who cheated on you?
Oh, I thought you were talking about I thought you meant like with like friends. I'm sorry. No. Yeah. Simple answer, no.
But yeah, I mean, based on that story, let me just tell you where I'm coming from with this. The moment that I run into somebody who tells me that they're working on themselves to be better for somebody who cheated on them or anything along those lines, I kind of
He wasn't improving himself once he knew that she
cheated on,
stepped out.
But
no,
yeah.
he was doing that before she stepped out.
Okay, so were they established in another break whenever she'd say? So this entire time, were they back together whenever she said, "I need to go do this and hang out with this person"? Were they actually together?
I'm gonna put it in quotations. Yes.
Okay, that's you cannot expect that woman to have any sort of respect for you as a man if you allow that to happen.
I mean, he knows that. It's obvious now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was obvious then. It's just like I said, he had a kid. So
I know, and look,
and that's not really an excuse, but it changes things.
it did, and it definitely changes things. But what I'm saying is, you're not doing yourself or the kid any favors by allowing that kind of behavior to go on in the same household.
I mean, yeah. I'm assuming, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think they're together anymore. But yeah,
I hope so. He sounds like a good guy, and I sure as hell hope.
Yeah.
I sure as hell hope.
For all you women out there, I'm not gonna say his name, but he's a wonderful guy.
I sure as hell
ask me who he is, I'll hook you up.
Sure as hell hope he's not with her.
Nah, I mean she was something else. That's all I can say.
That goes for.
But I apologize. I was answering the wrong question, which is, could I be friends with someone who cheated, or be friends with someone who was cheated on? I thought that was a question.
Mm-hmm.
But if,
Oh
could I
yeah,
be with somebody?
To each its own. At that point, all I can do, if I ever had a friend who got cheated on, is say, you know, especially with if you've been together a long time or you have a kid, a lot of times people are willing to work things out, and I say to that, look, more power to you to be able to forgive, and more power to you to make that person work towards earning your trust back. But personally, I am a very, very unforgiving son of a bitch.
We can see that.
I mean, that's just how I am. And I'd be the same way, like I told Carter on the last podcast. If you came up to me, just hypothetical, if you came up to me before you were married and we knew each other in high school or college, and you said, Scott, yeah, so-and-so cheated on me or something like that, I'd be standing there as your buddy. Bro code states, I fucking hate this bitch now. And if you asked me to stand at your wedding for the same woman, I'd stand by your side, but at the end of the day, I would have that thought in my mind that she is no good for you and she does not deserve my buddy.
And you'd be vocal about it, correct?
Very vocal.
Okay, but
I would be 100% vocal about that.
I don't think that necessarily helps anybody out here that might be in that situation. Or maybe, what is some advice that you would give to people that are watching? What is some advice that you would give to them that maybe it might improve their situation or status to where they can find what they're looking for as far as a relationship?
I'd say, for one, establish what you want. One, don't settle. Know what you want, go after it. Two, be confident. Three, always, the courtship never ends in a relationship. 4, keep your goals set and always go after them no matter what obstacles get in your way. A woman will respect you a hell of a lot more if you're going after what you want and she doesn't like it, if you go after and you go get it and you come back, than if you just stay put and listen to her. Like a good example, Cinderella Man. You ever saw Cinderella Man, the boxing movie? Remember whenever Jimmy's about to go fight and his wife doesn't want her? His wife doesn't want him to go fight because the guy he's about to fight just killed 2 guys. And he feels an obligation to provide for his family and go do it anyway. And he goes and he fights the guy, and spoiler alert, he wins. A woman's going to respect you a hell of a lot more for going out there and taking care of yours. What you smiling about?
Well, I was just going to bring up the more relevant situation that's not from a fictional movie, although based on a real event. I'm talking about Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen.
Gisele, yeah. I mean, you can tell that Tom's obviously hurting from that with his play. You know what I really think set it off was what happened with Tua, because Gisele didn't want him playing because of health.
Oh, yeah, and he's accomplished everything on the field that he possibly could, and he's 45 years old.
Yeah, but you got to think from his perspective, has he been taken down yet? I mean, He threw for 5,000 plus yards last year. I would hate knowing that I was at the top of my field and just knowing I had to give more. I could give more and just drop all of that like that.
Yeah, it's tough when you're at the top of your game still.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason they're the athletes that they are. I mean, that competitive drive has gotten them to where they are now. And a guy who's won 7 Super Bowls, if you're asking him to quit after just throwing for 5,000 plus yards, it's going to be hard for a man like Tom Brady to quit that.
I also think he loves football more than he does his marriage. It's his first love.
It is his first love. I can see how that would kind of fuck up a marriage, though, especially because his wife has supported him every single place that he's gone to, and she kind of wanted to do her own thing. She has a higher net worth than he does.
It's wild that at 45 and like 7 Super Bowls later, he still has like chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, and I don't think that chip's ever going to go away until he finally realizes that I can't do what I used to.
Right. I'll make my hundreds of millions over at Fox.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you take what's going on with Tom Brady and his high-profile marriage debacle with kind of what you guys were talking about when it comes to relationships?
Man, that ties into what I believe with the football aspect in terms of health now and doing what you love despite what everybody else keeps saying that you should do. Everybody keeps saying you should do. What you should do is retire. And I think that if he believes truly that he has more to give to this game, then he should do it. Now, I never said you shouldn't accept the consequences of what happens in a failed marriage or relationship when doing what you want to do. That's going to come with it. But at the end of the day, he's going to have more respect for himself that he stuck through with it than he would if he just completely quit, knowing that he had a lot more to give.
Relationship advice from a single man, fellas.
I'm not saying I know how to keep a long-lasting relationship. I never said that. But I'm saying do what you love. Go after. If you truly believe in what you're doing, don't quit. Go after what you want to do. If it doesn't involve cheating or anything, if it's a job or a promotion or moving to a new city for a job, do it, man. Do it. Go for it, but accept the consequences that come with it. But you will have a lot more respect for yourself instead of letting somebody dictate what you do.
Now, are you making this like a blanket answer, like prioritize the things you want to do in life over a healthy relationship?
I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying prioritize your well-being, your own well-being. If you think, if honestly, if Tom Brady thinks that him retiring is going to demoralize him as a man and he's going to lose respect for himself, then that marriage is going to fail itself in a few years.
Resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that to some degree you are right whenever you say, like, if you have like a goal in mind, stick with it, because the idea is that there's some great people out there that have accomplished a lot of things. Do I think you need to sacrifice your relationship for it? No, I don't think so. And I also don't think that you need to be established in that, because, like, take, for example, somebody like, I don't know, I don't really have a specific example at mind, but it's like if someone has like a grandiose goal that might take a long time for them to achieve it, it's like, well, then it's like they might be too old by the time that they've established themselves, and they're like, okay, well, now I'm ready for a relationship. And it's like, no, I think the best kind of relationship is the kind of relationship in which they see the ups and the downs, and they see who you are throughout that process. It's like not to say that, of course, a lot of people would want somebody that's already established, because the idea is that you get more consistency, more commitment, stuff like that. You're not having to deal with those lows. But the idea is that if I get to see who someone is at their worst, then I understand a little bit more about them. So I don't think that waiting till you're established and waiting till you've achieved that grandiose goal to establish a relationship is like, maybe that right person might be able to come along and help speed that process along. If anything, that's what you want in a relationship, is someone to help you along in that career, and it's not to say that, Tom Brady's wife didn't do that. I mean, she probably did, to some degree. At the same time, though, it's like it's kind of hard to be at the pinnacle of who you are and everything that you've achieved and stuff like that. And then it's like there is going to be a downhill, but it's like, don't get in a relationship once you've established yourself. Get in a relationship whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I told Scotty, like, when it comes to Katie Anacast, like, it's nowhere near where I want it to be as far as building it, and that's where my 100% of my focus is. But I'm not opposed to, if I meet the right girl, to grow this thing with her by my side,
That would tie into me having to realize that as a man, I wouldn't be able to give her everything that I want to give her in that moment.
But at the same time, if she truly understands that, and she's going to help you with that, and giving that time isn't really going to be a factor. My wife, for example, like, because of her, I was able to take the job that I'm in now. And God forsake, just the other night, I was literally bawling my eyes out because of how great things are. And it was all because of her. She is the main reason I am who I am today. If it weren't for her, I would not be sitting here 100%. I know for a fact I would have been homeless if it weren't for her. She gave me a house. She gave me everything that I have now. And I've devoted my entire life that I'm going to give back and more, everything that she's given me. And then on top of, and then add lanyap on top of that. Right. So that's kind of where I'm coming from when I'm saying, like, she saw me at the lowest point in my life, which was literally whenever my grandma passed away. And she saw exactly who I was. She knew exactly who I was going to be. And this was the lowest point that she could possibly see me at. And I don't, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think she's lost any respect for me because of the fact that she saw me at my lowest, but it's like, but it was because of her I have a house. It's because of her that I'm going to get the dog of my dreams. It's because of her I have the job of my dreams. It's because of her that I have all of this. And it's like, and she has no issues whatsoever with the fact that, I can't give her as much time because of my job. If anything, she accepts it. She knew that from day one. The moment I got into that and they started explaining everything, she was like, go for it. She knew exactly what I was aiming for. And she knows that it is all for naught. She knows that everything that I get, I'm going to give to her and more. I'm going to give her the house. I'm going to give her the cars. I'm going to give her everything that she could possibly ever want, and it's all because she gave me,
Things going on, son.
I'm sorry. She's probably her. She's fantastic. But yeah, so that's my advice. I would completely counter this whole establish yourself, be confident. It's like, I was none of that when I met my wife. Absolutely none of it. She saw me go down low. And like I said, like, the only reason why I have a car, the only reason I have a house, the only reason why I have a cat now, the only reason I'm getting a dog in the future, the only reason why I'm in the career that I want to be in is because of her. She's established herself, and she told me from the beginning exactly what she wanted to do, and she knew exactly what I wanted to do because I told that to her. And it's like, she helped me in every step of the way, in every sense of the word. So I think it is absolute BS to sit here and say that you have to establish yourself before you get into a committed relationship. I think it does it slow things down. It's like, to some degree, maybe in the beginning, because you do kind of have to have something, you know what I mean? But there's some people out there, take Alex Hermosi, for example. He's like a multimillionaire. Him and his wife met, and it was through work. They got together and he was like, here's what I do for a living. Do you want to come on board? The first time they met, there wasn't even a date. It was just like, hey, look, let me bring you on to what I'm doing in my business venture and stuff like that. And then it just turned into a relationship. And at a certain point, his business was going down so bad, and he sat down with his wife and he's like, look, things are not going as planned. Everything's getting worse. And I would not blame you if you left. And she picked his chin up and he said, I would sleep with you under a bridge if I have to. You know what I mean? That's what it means to have someone that I would say you deserve. That's what it comes down to. And I don't think that it's going to slow you down. I don't think, if anything, if your values align, if anything, it's only going to speed it up. And I would argue that maybe even Alex Hermosi would probably agree with this. The reason why he was already an ambitious individual, but just bringing on someone that's just as ambitious just speeds up. It's just that catalyst that rockets you to the top, but you already have to be somebody that's already aiming up, so that would be my advice, is aim up. the first thing you need to do is set the bar as low as you possibly can, or define a goal for yourself, and then set the bar so low that it feels stupid not achieving it. And then once you, and it's basically break down that goal into achievable steps and set the bar so low that you feel stupid not for achieving it, you know, and then you just do that consistently every single day. And what you're doing is you're
talking about the bar in terms of your goal.
Yeah, whatever your goal is in life. It could be anything. It could be a bartender. It could be a multimillionaire. It can be a football player. It doesn't matter. Whatever that goal is, set achievable markers for achieving that goal, so that way you do get that little rush of dopamine and serotonin that's associated with you achieving that goal. But what you're doing is you're increasing your value as a person. You know, you're going to be learning more things. You're going to be broadening your horizon. You're going to be becoming a more well-rounded individual. And then by association, what's going to happen is that more people will be interested in you and what you are doing. And what's going to happen is that if you actually are on the path to doing something, because at one point I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to be great, you know, and it's like, and she knew that. And the idea is that there was a time where I was not doing great at all, but my sights were set, you know, and all I had to do is every single time I had a setback, I just changed the goal, bring it down to a point in which I can achieve it and keep moving forward, you know. And it's like, it's because of that, it's helped me develop into a better person. And she would argue that, you know, she's had the same things, you know, like she is now a more well-rounded and she has more character to herself, you know, and it's because of this collaboration that we have with this goal associated that we have with each other, you know. And so, but all I really did was just focus on being the best that I could be, you know. And I wasn't a very specific goal. It was just a general goal, you know, which is what are some things that I can do now to improve my life, and what are some things that I'm doing right now that's making it worse, and that I could stop doing, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I probably shouldn't, you know, be eating at 10 o'clock at night. I probably should take a shower every single day. I probably should brush my teeth more often. You know,
what do you mean take a shower every single day?
I mean, there was a certain point in my life I wasn't consistently showering. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like there's certain things that I know that
you do now, though.
Well, yeah, of course I have to. She's with me. But the idea is that, you know, like whatever that goal is, you set markers for what you're trying to achieve, and set it to a reasonable expectation. And then also, you know that there's certain things that you're doing in your life that's stopping you and that you could stop doing, so that way you can see that progression and start moving forward in life. And by association, you're going to eventually start meeting more people, which is going to help increase your the pool of opportunity for potential relationships.
And I'd say for me, I definitely for my own well-being, is my preference would be that I've established myself in the financial goal that I want before I am willing or able to commit 100% of my time, not 100%, but commit 100% to a relationship. And I think that would just fall on what your goal is and who you are as a person, because I'm not just going to jump into something and half-ass it myself, because I know that I consider half-assing not being able to give you more time. But that's just me. Yep. I think you bring up a very good point, because I think that is great that you are as happy as you are. And you remind us every day at the office, man, because you walk in with a big-ass grin every time. So, I mean, that's great, and I'm happy as hell to see you happy like that. And I hope a lot more people can be as happy as that and find that person. All I'm saying is I'm not at that point where I'm ready to jump into something until I've reached those goals I've set for myself personally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And once I do that, then I know that I can go ahead and move forward. So, hell of a damn time. We stuck on topic. We stuck on,
which is very hard to do with Scotty.
Carter's happy, man.
Oh yeah.
I see your big ass grin with that shirt on. Folks, for more locally sourced content, make sure to check out @acadianacast.com, @Acadiana_cast on TikTok, @Acadianacast on Instagram, @Lord Scotty D on Instagram, Alex Mejia on Facebook.
Lafayette legend Jada Wizard giving us the truth.
Must feel real good to be 2-12 and celebrating like this.
First place in SEC West, baby.
Oh man, I wish you know what? I wish I could have a sports team to where I could celebrate this much after being 2-12.
We're happy people.
2-12.
Not 2-12.
2-12 against Alabama in the last 14 years.
Yeah, whatever. This is a new year.
Hey, welcome to LSU's new slogan, man. That's a football team. Hey, we might lose 12 times, but at least we got them twice. Yeah. Turn that shit off for my outro.
He had to do it.
I know he had to. I was waiting. He's been the worst one so far.
That's what he was waiting for this whole time.
He's been the worst one.
I've had it queued up for about an hour and a half.
He was waiting.
I'm so sorry for that disturbing music, folks. But anyway, thanks for tuning in to UnWoKeN. I'm Scott Davis. That's Alex Mejia. That's Carter Semino. Hannah's back there somewhere. Telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you motherfuckers who don't want to hear it.